Welcome to the Fantasy 40 Podcast.
Go, go.
Fantasy 40 Podcast. Welcome to the Fantasy 40 Podcast. We are back. Myself, Andrew Burke. John DeBari is in Arizona on his way back, but I do have my man Matt Walker with me. And guess what, Matt? Today is a National Podcast Day, so no better way to spend it than with you, huh?
No shit. I was totally unaware. Yesterday was a National Coffee Day. Avid coffee drinker, and dive into our personal life a little bit. But I had to have a tooth pulled yesterday that I've been delaying because all this COVID stuff. Well, the tooth fairy finally came a calling, so I had to have it pulled out yesterday. So I didn't even get to indulge in National Coffee Day yesterday because I'm not allowed to drink anything hot. So got screwed out of that one. But National Podcast Day, no better time than a present to be recording. So day late for us, but fell on the appropriate day. So let's dive into these hits or misses, buddy. Like you said, no John DeBari. Unfortunate, but we are still going to touch on his hits and misses as well.
Perfect. Sounds good to me. I did pick up the slack for you yesterday. Drank about 8 cups of coffee, so I had it all nailed down for you. But I'm excited for these hits and misses, all my misses. Hear some of your guys' hits. But why don't you go ahead and get rolling with that?
Definitely. And listen, 10 cups of coffee, man, after my own heart. I've been severely cutting back on it, and my stamina and energy levels have declined precipitously as well. You don't realize how reliant you are on that caffeine. I'm going to have to find it through other means, but I just broke it down by host. And since we'll go in alphabetical order as we have been wont to do, Andrew Burke comes right off the top. And truthfully, you were on the road and you didn't contribute as much as you had the week prior, but the little that you did was very, very spot on. I have to be honest with you. And right out of the gate, you just threw I still like Keenan Allen, regardless of the QB. There was still a little uncertainty of, was it going to be Bear or was it going to be Tyrod Taylor? And Keenan Allen showed out. Now, we were all wrong about the Chargers boat racing those Carolina Panthers. So how he got there was not as we expected, but Keenan Allen put up a day for the ages. I didn't write the stat line there, but I could pull it up right quick, and it was a gem. It was 19 targets, 13 receptions, 133 yards, and a touchdown for Mr. Allen. Just a gem of a day for Keenan Allen, and let's hope and pray that Justin Herbert stays under center for the remainder of the season and the foreseeable future, because that was a big swing. I envisioned a heavy run script for those Chargers, so I wouldn't have put anything on Keenan Allen. I benefited in a league of my own from Julio being ruled out early, where I had Keenan Allen on the bench because I'm very deep at wide receiver, slotted Keenan right in for Julio, and won a week. Literally because of a high-scoring affair against a buddy of mine in my quote-unquote league of record. And I ended up with a walk-off win of like 3 or 4 points, where I don't get that big day from Keenan Allen. I lose that week. Julio, even healthy, is he putting up 13 for 132 and a touchdown?
Sure. You got to minus the touchdown, maybe the catches and the yards, but not the touchdown. So
big hit for you on that one. And in that same game, you turned and took a shot at a receiver on the other side of the field, and it was just a generic. This is why I was fading DJ Moore in redraft. You just weren't there. No matter how often I speak glowingly about Mr. Moore, you just are there to keep me honest, and rightfully so thus far. Plus game script, which again I was not expecting. I was expecting comeback mode for these Carolina Panthers, but Moore saw 4 targets in the game, caught 2 for 65 yards, so a healthy per reception average of almost 33 yards, but they just didn't need to throw the ball. Won the game 21-16. Game script kind of dictated a little bit, but DJ Moore has been an epic disappointment through 3 weeks thus far. So again, kudos to you on another hit. I backed out on the Dallas to Seattle game, being that was you and John, and right out of the gate, you just said, take the over. I think it was a little bit of a layup, but you jumped right on it, and fireworks were to be had in that game. Just about everyone got off that was healthy. It was an ugly Zeke game, but he got a touchdown out of it. So That was a definitely take your over, and it was pretty much start everyone game. You did say stay away from Dalton Schultz this week, and you referenced those Seattle linebackers, and Dalton Schultz didn't do anything of significance in that game. So another hit for you. And then we started losing you, experiencing technical difficulties on the road. So we're in a lot more from you on the week. But then there was just a miss that I want a quick explanation from you. And I don't know if I misunderstood or if it was just a miss or you were just trying to be funny, but you said that Devonta Freeman will be quote unquote the running back for the New York Giants. And I just wrote, I mean, what does that mean? Because I guess he was the running back, but he had 5 carries for 10 yards on the week. Did you just mean that he was the starter?
It works out both ways, right? You look at Saquon's numbers through the 2 games, and he was negative, off 15 carries. So I think Devontae gave me that hit, but no, I'm just joking. I think there's more in store, but it's definitely a bye week from here on out. Might be able to vulture a touchdown here and there if the Giants ever get in the red zone. But other than that, man, I think he's a plug when you got nobody, or if this COVID stuff keeps happening and the games get postponed, you're going to have to run with somebody, and why not Freeman? But other than that, I have him in a lot of dynasties, so I was just kind of hoping for and praying for my own team's sake. But when it's real, you can't trust him really moving forward. Even if it was Saquon, you got to, hands are in the air. If he wasn't hurt, what are you going to do with Saquon? Because I don't think he's ripping off more than 30 yards a game if he's healthy. Yeah,
fair enough. I mean, it was a wing and a prayer with Saquon, and you're expecting him to break a screen pass for like a 60-yard gain here and there to salvage a fantasy day. So what the hell is Devonta Freeman going to do at the end of the day? And just for posterity's sake, those New York Giants are plus 13 dogs on the road against the LA Rams this week. So I know that Devonta Freeman can catch passes, but it's more likely that it's going to be Deion Lewis on that one. So hopefully you're not starting Devonta Freeman in week 4, but more hits and misses for you, Burke, on those one, and a few of significance, So
yeah, I'm going to add one, though. Can I add one?
Sure.
I don't mean to cut you off, but before we started the season, we were going through our divisional breakdowns. I did say Trubisky's going to lose a job in week 3, and John took the over. And here we are. They've already came out and said Foles is the guy. So if you have A-Rob, I know we're going to do another show, but I'm just over the moon ecstatic for my boy A-Rob right now, and I just wanted to throw that out there.
Oh, yeah, wheels up for the entire Bears passing game. I've been saying the same for Anthony Miller, and I can't understand why he's not getting the burn that I think he deserves. He's just a limited snap guy thus far, but I see a ton of value with him and Nick Foles, and also seems to breathe life into Jimmy Graham as well, because Foles loves that tight end. But you're right, we're going to speak to these games going forward. It was awfully crystal ball-y of you to go week 3, because those Bears were 2-0, and Trubisky had thrown 1 interception in a day, and it wasn't like they were getting blown out. It just seemed like Nagy had seen enough. Like, you got your 2-0 quarterback in a close game, and you still are like, nah. It's time to move on. So kudos to him for pulling the trigger. Kudos to you for calling week 3. So, yeah, certainly another hit for you. We're going to move on to John here, not here to defend himself. So, we're just going to take pot shots.
We'll take it easy.
No, we will not take it easy on him. He had some significant hits, and we'll talk about that Texans game right out of the gate. And he said this could be a Randall Cobb game. And Randall Cobb, 4 for 95 and a touchdown.
Yep.
Led the team in yards, scored that touchdown, bounced around defenders a little bit. He was the leading receiver for the Texans. They kept it closer than I think any of us really thought against the Steelers. And, quote, unquote, it was a Randall Cobb game. I mean, I didn't think anyone would have thought he was going to get 95 yards on 4 catches. Not really the kind of receiver he is, but facts are facts. And it was, quote, unquote, a Randall Cobb game. He also said, prepare for a Raiders letdown. I think that was both me and him after that kind of opening win at Allegiant Stadium on that Monday night game against the Saints the week before. And, yeah, the Raiders just laid an egg against the Patriots after a short week. So definitely was a letdown game. We're going to call that a hit. There was really no Raiders of significance that you could have started in the game.
Nope.
He took a layup here, but we're still going to give him credit. He said, give me those running backs in the Tennessee-Minnesota game where, of course, you're starting Dalvin Cook and Derrick Henry. But those 2 gentlemen combined for 48 carries for exactly 300 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. So I'm still going to give him the hit. I mean, it wasn't dispersed evenly, but that's what both these teams want to be. They were both able to do it. Ended up being a higher scoring affair than I think John expected it to be. I think he said it was going to be a lower scoring affair, but I guess when you get that type of production out of those running backs, it's going to be higher. So kudos to him, for sticking with the backs, even though he thought it was going to be a little lower scoring. Talking about those Cleveland Browns, he said start Chubb and Hunt and no one else. It's pretty much been the case. You could speak to Odell Beckham. You have him in a couple spots where the only people you can depend on with any consistency are Chubb and Hunt, and you pretty much want the positive game script when you're going to get there. They've had it the last 2 weeks. Chubb and Hunt have return value for you. Just not throwing the ball enough for anyone else.
Not at all.
Landry is not getting the volume that he requires to be that PPR guy. Beckham, if he gets the touchdown, so be it. If not, you're unhappy. Hooper
4 for 60. Yeah. I mean, it's
Hooper
just
gets paid a ton of cash and is, I'm going to, off the top of my head, he's probably like tight end 30 to 40 right now in PPR leagues. It just no touchdowns, probably has 100 total yards through 3 weeks.
Out of everything you said, the most surprising thing to me, Walk, is the Jarvis Landry situation, right? We all know Beckham's big playability. The reason why I took him where I did in all redrafts is, the value I thought was going to be there because of his big playability. But I'm really concerned because of Jarvis Landry not getting that underneath work and opening it up. I mean, that's how the Browns were when they were hitting big plays last year. That's how it was working. Not that there was a bunch, but I expected a little improvement this year. And I'm pretty concerned when Jarvis Landry isn't getting his. Odell's definitely not going to get his either. You just throw the safety over the top. And for the most part, all I see is Odell running 14-yard digs in the middle of the field. That is not his specialty. He's not going to be one of those guys to reach out and take the hit and come down with the ball. He doesn't like that stuff.
Welcome to the Kevin Stefanski offense. So we'll talk about those Browns Week 4 opponents in the next episode. But moving on, John was ballsy enough to call for another Mo Alley Cox game. I was a little concerned with Jack Doyle returning, but Mo Alley Cox put 3 for 50 and a touchdown out there. Just a giant human being that is far too athletic for his size, and he catches touchdowns. So kudos to him. To Jack Doyle, I think, no receptions. Mo Alley Cox ran 7 pass routes in the game. Turn that into 3 receptions for 50 yards and a touchdown. So it's not likely to continue at that epic pace, but hey, called a shot and it worked. Also said, I see a ton of points from Alvin Kamara. Again, probably not going on a limb, but Alvin Kamara had 13 receptions for 139 yards and 2 touchdowns. Receptions, receiving yards, touchdowns. That has nothing on the ground. That is as a receiver. He was unbelievable. He is literally carrying this entire Saints offense on his back right now. They would be getting boat raced by most NFL teams right now if Kamara wasn't doing what he's doing, because they don't scare anyone without Michael Thomas.
100% agree, man. And I'm sorry to, keep going on and evaluating these offenses, but in long term, man, right now, Drew Brees scares the F out of me. When you see Kamara, getting 13 receptions, that's because he can't get even. I mean, Emmanuel Sanders is there, but he's not doing Drew Brees-esque things. The play act. They're having Taysom Hill run a wide receiver screen so he can throw the fucking ball down the field. So, if you have Drew Brees in redraft, you might want to go and if Foles is available, grab him. There's my little point.
Yeah, I mean, even that Kamara play that's made its way around Twitter, that wasn't intended. That was because Breeze wasn't pushing it down the field, and right before he was about to take the sack, he knew Kamara was just sitting over there in the flat, and that was just 100% Alvin Kamara just blowing it. Make chicken salad out of chicken shit over there, setting up blocks, just being superhuman. So, kudos to him. All that falls on Drew Brees' stat line at the end of the day, but you're right. He doesn't deserve it. So hopefully better days are ahead. Maybe even Michael Thomas plays this week. But move forward. Again, John, I think this was more sticking it to me than really going out on a limb. He called for a Robert Tonyan TD in the same game. Tonyan put a 5 for 50 and a touchdown. I got that touchdown late in the game. I texted him right afterwards, and I was like, listen, you calling shots against me isn't as much as you truly believe in these things, and that's exactly what that was. I would like to note that Jay Sternberger put up 3 for 36 in that same game. So it could have went the other way. It's what's completely clear to me is that the Saints just don't cover the tight end. 5 for 50 to Tonyan, 3 for 36 to Sternberger. Get that on your radar, people. Saints just refuse to cover tight ends. And then
90 in a touch. If they
exactly. And there's probably Mercedes Lewis caught a touchdown in that same game as well, where he bullied the D-back and fell into the end zone. So it's like 102 touchdowns from the tight end position.
Wow.
The last hit for John was, I threw him I have Kyler and Lamar Murray, spoiler of riches in a single QB league. And I said, who do I go with? And John was like, I would go with Kyler. He's like, I like to go with the earlier guy, all things being equal. And I was like, really? I kind of like keeping a bullet in the chamber. I'm not going to just default to the earlier guy because he plays earlier. I think it's weird logic on John's behalf. Like, he didn't just say, like, I think Kyler's going to score more points. It was he plays earlier. So that's who I'm going to go with, all things being equal. Well, I went with Lamar and I eked out a win, but it literally came down to like him throwing that touchdown to Nick Boyle in the fourth quarter for me to win the week, when Kyler didn't have a great week, but I wouldn't have had to sweat out Monday Night Football in what turned out to be an ugly affair for Lamar Jackson. So John hit the nail on the head there. Should have listened. Wouldn't have had to stress out Monday night. So hit that one. Getting on to a few of his misses. Deontay Johnson was a huge miss, but he was concussed. So we'll give him the walk off on that one. But he did goose egg, and those hurt tremendously.
That one hurt me.
Sure,
yep.
In the game. John and myself, so we probably double dip on this one, said keep riding Leonard Fournette. We thought the tide had turned, came off a huge game. Leonard Fournette gets 7 carries. Ronald Jones gets 13.
I'll go ahead. Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. Like,
you can go ahead and throw me in your wagon, man.
Yeah.
I was on the same page. I just couldn't speak at that time when I was on the road, but I would have been in the same boat as you guys. I really thought it's time,
Yeah, I'll eat that miss all day. It was a bold prediction the week before. I was confident about it this past week, and I don't know why he just went back to the well with Ronald Jones. So can only imagine what's going to happen this week. I don't feel confident one way or the other at this point, because it just shows that Arians is trying to be unpredictable for whatever reason. John also said he felt confident in Logan Thomas this week, and he threw up a 4 for 31. Logan Thomas is getting the targets. They're just not good targets. They're coming from Dwayne Haskins. So take that for what you will. He called for a Josh Kelly breakout party. Josh Kelly fumbled. Didn't really see the field for the rest of the game, and they were losing, so it was Austin Eckler. He also said Jonathan Taylor, bold prediction, was going to be RB1 overall for the week. Didn't happen. Barely, didn't even crack 20 carries. Think he saw 1 target in the game. Just didn't get the workload because it was a blowout. 2 defensive touchdowns will do that to you, but still a miss. Also said he didn't trust his boy Kenny Golladay coming back from an injury. Well, Golladay, 6 for 57 and a touchdown. When your guys come back, when they're studs like Kenny Golladay, you plug them in.
He's back. He's back.
Yeah, you plug him into your lineup. So a couple misses there. All right. Moving on to me. I'm a lot more critical of myself when it comes to hits and misses, so my list is a little longer. Right out of the gate, I said that Darrell Henderson was going to be a top 15 running back. I said, it's happening in week 3. Well, Darrell Henderson was a top 15 running back. It wasn't the boldest of calls. New Acres was going to be out. Malcolm Brown was active, but you wouldn't have known it because it was all Darrell Henderson. In the game, I went bold a week earlier and said that the Houston Texans were going to be 0-3 before they lost their week 2 matchup. That was pretty easy with the Pittsburgh Steelers, although they were a lot more competitive than I thought, but they did go to 0-3. It was a second week, but I did call the Eric Ebron touchdown guarantee, so finally got that monkey off my back. Eric Ebron, I like it, 5 for 52 and 1.
Yep.
It might have been a little product of Deontay Johnson catching the concussion, so you were taking a feeder out of that passing game, so who's it really going to go to? It's clearly not going to Juju. We can talk about that later, but we're not allowed to throw it to Juju more than 6 times, apparently, in the Steelers' offense. So kudos. Ebron picks up the slack in that game. I said James Conner was going to have a big game. Houston Texans' run defense sucks. James Conner had his big game. I also said to sell high. So here's my PSA. Sell him. Okay, sell James Conner. Cash out. 2 for 1. Go get 2 running backs. James Conner's going to get hurt sooner rather than later. He still did not look good to me in the game. He just doesn't.
Can we take a quick little sidebar, not to throw you off track? I like that. Sell high. I'm definitely on board with that. I don't own them anywhere. So you're saying a 2 for 1 deal. What are you looking at? Somebody like Singletary that's kind of middle of the road, still fighting Moss for carries, and who would be somebody else?
I would probably want to do better than Singletary. I'd have to look. Maybe a hurt guy or something like that. But, get a rookie that hasn't hit yet. Get a Dobbins thrown in there. I don't know, another rookie like a Swift I don't think is going to happen as long as Adrian Peterson's there. He's just not going to get the volume. But, a Dobbins, who I still believe sooner than later is going to be the guy to get the 12-plus touches a week type thing thrown on top of, maybe the Chris Carson owner that's hurt that, maybe needs to win a week if Chris Carson's ruled out this week. Probably a little bold on that behalf, but look for like a low end running back 1 or high end 2, plus one of these rookies that kind of hasn't happened yet from Connor. That's still off the top of my head what I'd probably be looking to do. Diversify a little bit, protect yourself from injury. Connor's put together 2 RB1 weeks in a row, and looks like the injury's a little behind him. He's involved in the passing game. Everyone loves Pittsburgh. I'm getting out.
I would take like an Ebron Dobbins package there if you're hurting that tight end. That sounds kind of good to me. So sorry to throw you off. But,
no, it's all a matter of what the depth you have. So I also said that Bill Belichick will do everything in his power to relegate Darren Waller and who will make you beat them with Hunter Renfrow. That literally was what happened. Darren Waller was non-existent. Hunter Renfrow was their leading receiver. So felt pretty good about that. Also said Jeff Wilson was a clear starter in this week because he was going to handle most of the touches. He had 15 touches. He had 69 yards. He had 2 touchdowns in the game. Wasn't a tremendous yardage standpoint, but was really was really involved from a receiving standpoint. Not a good yards per carry, but still put 2 touchdowns on you. So if you had Jeff Wilson, you started him. You were really happy about that. Also said, can't start Chris Herndon. John said, if you're going to start anyone from the Jets game, it's got to be Chris Herndon. I said, absolutely not. Gase won't let it happen. Herndon laid another egg. Then I did go and say, but if there is one Jet you can start, his name is Braxton Berrios. 4 for 64 and a touchdown. It's a slot receiver. Whoever it is, it's going to happen. If Jamison Crowder returns on Thursday Night Football, put Jamison Crowder right back in your lineup. If he's inactive, start Braxton Berrios for another week. It's very simple math. That's where the offense is run through. It's the first read. It's the only person that he's allowed to throw it to. It will pay dividends, whether it's Braxton Berrios or Jamison Crowder. 2 more, then we'll move to misses. I said I'm concerned with Chris Carson if he's not catching touchdown passes. He got that dirty rolled-up injury by your Tristan Hill defensive tackle at the end of the game. But before that, nothing. Didn't look too productive running the ball. Wasn't highly involved receiving. I told you, I think it was week 2. I said, listen, every week 1, it was all these screen passes that he took to the house. I think he caught a touchdown again passing week 2. I was like, I don't like that production from Chris Carson because I don't see him as that type of back.
Right.
I was concerned with Chris Carson. He is the power back. He's the 20 carry back. I did not see that being something that was going to be consistent across the year. And granted, it was only a game, but I said I was concerned. Injury aside, he still had a shit week in a high-scoring affair in week 3. So,
now that's a good one. I think we did discuss it a couple weeks ago, and the second week was just a 30-something yard wheel route he caught. I mean,
and it was at the end of the game.
Right. So he's semi-productive, but the thing that Seattle is kind of struggling with right now is they have Chris Carson. Then they have the same exact guy, probably not as physical, in Carlos Hyde behind him. They don't have that McKissick or, if it was Rashad Penny who's supposed to be there as their pass-catching back. They don't have that right now. And I still think they're trying to find their identity in the backfield for the running back position. So that's a good point there.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Hopefully they get DJ Dallas on the field sooner rather than later because I think he can be that guy. And then my last hit was I said, and I think this was probably just because we hate him, but it was also pretty obvious. I said the Bucs are going to bottle up Melvin Gordon. It was just really right there. And most people had to start him, I'm sure, because he's a bell cow back. There's injuries. You really couldn't get away from it. But I wasn't expecting anything, and Melvin Gordon didn't do anything in the game. On to my misses. Go ahead.
Did Driscoll run it in?
Driscoll got no touchdowns. They only threw one, and it went to Tim Patrick.
I remember John saying something about Driscoll might be running around a little bit, so I was curious.
He didn't run as much as expected, and he didn't even finish the game. They brought in Brett Rippon because I guess Fangio didn't like what Driscoll was doing out there. So Driscoll didn't even get a full game in. But no, Driscoll 179, 1-1, and then he was 3 for 14 on the ground. So no, he didn't get that.
Sorry,
but he also didn't get a full game to do it.
Gotcha.
And now let's talk about my misses. I said Jonnu Smith was going to, quote, skull crush the Vikings. And then I also said I would start him over Mark Andrews. Well, he outscored Mark Andrews.
Yes.
So
Mark
Andrews also dropped 2 should-be catches, one of which should have been a touchdown. Mark Andrews probably should have had an 80-yard, 1-touchdown game, but he did not. So Jonnu did outscore him, which was pretty bold, I think, all things being considered. But Jonnu didn't have the game that I thought he was going to have against the Vikings. They were just like a sieve against a tight end and just didn't feature him as much as I guess, wanted them to. So that's a miss.
I don't think you're 100% off, though, just because I watched a lot of that game. I was surprised on the action that was going on. And every time I turned it on, I was flipping through all the games, they were targeting the shit out of Jonnu, right? They get down there on the 10-yard line. They're trying to hit that skinny post. They just weren't connecting. So bigger and better days ahead for Jonnu. Right? So I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, he was their leading target getter. I mean, he had 8 targets on the day. Maybe I'm becoming entirely unrealistic about what I expect from Jonnu on a week in, week out basis. So you get 5 from 61 from your tight end right now in a PPR. You should not be that disappointed. He puts a touchdown on there. You're ecstatic.
I appreciate you going out on a limb saying you missed there, but I think that's a semi-hit. So
yeah, I expect better out of myself. This one hurt. Carson Wentz, 282-0. Well, he put up 225, 1 and 2 because he threw 2 fucking interceptions again. And he did run one in, so it helped your fantasy day, but I expected a cleaner day from him. Yeah, they lost Goddard again, and then D-Jax went out, but it's just no excuses anymore. I mean, the Bengals aren't this lockdown defense, and he just looks skittish, gun-shy. He's making poor decisions. That was a miss. I called for the A.J. Green breakout, and I said that I didn't think Slay would shadow him. Well, Slay shadowed him. And I didn't think that the Eagles would do that. I didn't think that A.J. Green really commanded that at this point in time, but he did. Slay was all over him and really relegated him for most of the game. Same game, I said that Drew Sample was going to be peppered with targets because he should have been. Through the first 2 weeks, they were really focusing on the tight end. Drew Sample had 1 target for 1 yard. Like Cethan Carter, the other tight end, had 1 target for 1 yard in the game. I'm just at a loss for what that game plan was. They got T. Higgins involved. It looks like he's taken that kind of big slot type role since they had John Ross inactive. I don't know. I
think one of the points is the week prior when Burrow's getting tattooed, they got to keep some extra blockers in, and maybe that's where it's coming from. So at this point, from what you're saying, I tend to lean towards fading any Cincinnati tight end just because Burrow is getting killed as it is. So they're going to need extra blockers in there. The running backs and Mixon aren't helping. So,
That's very sound advice. It's funny because in week 1, I thought that Goddard was going to be left in the block a lot more than he was. So when I was asked who to start out of Goddard and Jonnu on Twitter, I went with Jonnu, and Jonnu ended up scoring like 50, 60 and a touchdown. So it wasn't a abysmal call, but Goddard, I think, was tight end 1 on the week, or if not 2 or 3. Maybe Andrews had 2 touchdowns, but Goddard was out running routes all day long. And I'm like, I thought he'd be plastered to the line blocking, in week 1, but was totally wrong there. But yeah, I guess Sample was not to be found. And I watched the game. He was out there in a couple of routes that I'm like, that could have had that one. But alas, it was a miss. I said I would start David Montgomery over Todd Gurley last week. David Montgomery got to work. Todd Gurley just more effective. Brian Hill more effective than Todd Gurley. The Falcons just ran at will on the Bears, which I did not see coming. And Gurley didn't look dead. It's the first week I finally said, I'm over. Started James Robinson over him in the league of record, and it was the right decision. But Gurley, got my attention again. Yeah, maybe he knew I put him on the bench, but that was a miss. Gurley outscored David Montgomery. I did call for 2 touchdowns from Josh Kelly. Really believed that the Panthers were just going to run. Really believed that the Chargers were going to run all over the Panthers. And I think the fumble plus the game script just shelved them early on, and it was an Eckler game. Missed that one. I called for 101 from Fournette. Discussed Fournette earlier.
Yeah.
Nothing much more I can do with that. So they were my misses. We did go bold predictions on Thursday Night Football because we got it out early. And John went with DJ Chark. He didn't play, so it doesn't count. I went with Laviska Shenault, said 100 all-purpose and 1. And I don't know if you watched the game. When he touches the ball, he's electric. He touched the ball 7 times in a game that they were trailing. Why are we not scheming Laviska Shenault the ball 10 to 12 times every game? He was getting carries weeks earlier. He got 1 carry in the game.
Yeah, and another thing is the targets he was getting, they weren't well blocked screen passes, or they were bailouts. Like he's 4 yards down the field, and Gardner, that wasn't his first read, so he comes off. He's coming back to Shenault, and there's just no space for him to make some plays. And that a lot of his stuff is rack. You go back to his college tape, the guy runs with power, and he's got some moves. So I was also disappointed. I rolled him out in quite a few leagues, and it's just kind of funny. I always tend to lean if I am on Twitter, pregame and I'm looking and everyone's going, oh, Chenault this or James Robinson that. I'll go the other way. When there's too many people on them, that scares me. But in this case, I did not shy away from Chenault, and I was kind of disappointed, even though I came out on top this week. But
he deserves better. And you're right. I mean, for Minshew throwing it 42 times, when they're coming back early. I mean, they were getting run out of the building. They were down 14-0 in the first quarter. To not see more Chenault in that game. I mean, Minshew just didn't look good either. But you're right. It was just poor play designed to maximize Chenault's ability. Still don't know why they weren't using him on some end arounds or some reverses. Like, just get the playmaker the ball. Like, even Cole. The pass catchers just together, really. I mean, it was James Robinson, really, that kept him in there. So 100%. Who was a beast.
Yeah, quite surprising. Quite surprising. So that wasn't too bad of a week, Walk.
It wasn't week 2, Burke. Week 2, we were a force to be reckoned with. Week 3 was a few times we went bold. They were bold. So when you go bold and you miss, people really shouldn't hold you accountable. But there was a few things where I'm a little concerned here, or, pay particular attention to this type of thing where, we were pretty prescient. So all in all, you're right. I think we should be proud of ourselves, but we can do better. So better.
I get it. We expect greatness here at the 40, and that's all we'll try to give you guys. We own our misses, and we love our hits. One of these days, James Conner is not going to do anything, but that's to be determined, especially in the next episode, so keep your guys' eyes peeled for that. We'll be doing the Week 4 breakdown, probably hitting your airwaves soon. But thanks for taking a listen. For myself, Matt Walker, and John DeBari, we're the Fantasy 40, and we are signing off.
Ow!